My name is Lori Sugihara, and you are in for a treat today because I love speaking about the samurai. It's what I love to do. And before I start, what I'd like to do is let you know what you're going to learn. You're going to learn the pathway to success. And everything is done samurai style. And learn about tenacity and persistence and how to identify your fears and what could keep you or anyone else from reaching your full potential. And all of this is done through the eyes of a samurai descendant. And I hope you will enjoy the presentation. When I was 9, Joe Willis tripped me, punched me in the gut and said, "You're a fat, ugly Jap." And after that, I wanted nothing at all to do with my heritage. I didn't even go to Japan until I was an adult. Then in 1982, my husband and I traveled to Japan to meet my father's rich cousins. And they gave us a copy of the family tree and our family crest. It had 3 stylized swords and 3 leaves that looked like hearts. And I said, "Domo arigato gozaimasu." That's thank you in Japanese. A few days later, we attended the Jidai Matsuri. It was the annual historical parade in Kyoto with over 2,000 people dressed in period attire. So look at her. This is Tomoe Gozen. I had no idea there were female samurais, and she's so strong and regal. And she was a famous samurai warrior, even though she was female. And look at her dates. She lived till 90. Amazing woman. Then we had to return home, and we packed away all of our goods and pretty much my Japanese heritage until 2005 and 2007. I was wounded for the second time in 18 months. I was totally messed up and left with mild traumatic brain injury. There was nothing mild about my condition. I suffered a lot, chronic pain, vision was messed up, and I was reading at a 7th grade level. But I was determined to make my situation better. I did not want to be reading at a 7th grade level. So I fought hard. I started thinking about that female samurai warrior. There's something special about her and my Japanese heritage. And as I researched, I realized that the samurai lived by a code of ethics. It's called the Kota Bushido, the way of the warrior, which included courage, integrity, benevolence, respect, honesty, honor, and loyalty. They were so dedicated that they pledged their sacred honor and their lives. And I continued to research on the internet, even though I could only do it for maybe 20 minutes, but I continued to improve. And one day I saw this familiar image on the internet, and I told my husband, look, that's our family crest. It's one of the 5 main samurai crests of feudal Japan. I knew at that time the spirit of the samurai and the DNA, it was part of me. So if that samurai spirit can move those warriors, it can motivate me. So every day I would research and write, whether it be 5 minutes or 20 minutes or hours. Everything started to improve. I could see better, and my vision was better. I could think better. I wasn't in so much pain. And when the book took shape and it was published and landed on my doorstep, I thought, yes, that samurai spirit, it's in me. So I knew that I was Samurai Woman Lori because the samurai were the awesome warriors of feudal Japan. And now I would like to share with you about the coaching program and the process that I take people through. It's really exciting because I am so Japanese, and taking that which I wanted nothing to do with and to make it my own, I have found my ikigai. And the ikigai is what the Japanese, especially in Okinawa, have discovered their reason for living. And if I were to ask any person or a lot of people out there, do you know what your ikigai is? Now, ikigai sounds kind of like ikigai, but it's not. It's your reason for living. What makes you get up in the morning? What can you do for hours on end? And it seems like you just started, even if you spent hours doing it. So everybody has their own ikigai, their own pathway to find out what they are all about. And I think one of the saddest tragedies are people that go through life, but they don't know what they're all about or what their purpose is. People can wander aimlessly, and I don't want that for any of you. I would love for you to find your ikigai, because once you do that, you will become a better leader. You can start leading yourself, and then you will lead others. So look at this little lady here over, well, on my screen, the right. She's probably in her hundreds, and there are 5 communities around the world which have many centenarians, and people have been discovering their secret. I want you to discover what your secret is and what your ikigai is, because yours is different than anyone else. Ikigai, your purpose in life. And the French say raison d'etre. And what is your ikigai? What gets you up moving every morning? So this is an exciting thing to think about, and it can be discovered. And sometimes it's not through the most fortunate situations, like with me being rear-ended and going through thousands of appointments to get better, but you can find your own ikigai. And there's a Venn diagram that goes with ikigai. And it's what do you love? What does the world need? And what can you be paid for? And what you specifically are good at. And you put those all together, and hopefully you'll come up with your ikigai. Daniel K Inouye, he was a 2nd lieutenant during World War II in the Army. And I'm sharing with you about leaders from the past. And Daniel K Inouye is one person that I feel is an inspiration, because his ikigai was to serve people. And he didn't go out there as a lieutenant. He says, go out there, guys, and have a good day. He didn't do that. He was there on the front line. And one day he was injured and bleeding so badly that they had to take him in. And he did pass out from a loss of blood. He didn't want to go in, but he had no choice. And at that time, the doctors didn't think they could save him, but he convinced them to amputate his arm. So because of World War II, he only has one arm now. He wanted to be a doctor and serve mankind. And that was his ikigai, is to serve mankind. However, what do you do when you have a severed arm? You cannot enter medical school. So he decided to go to law school, and he entered politics and served people through being a senator, one of the longest standing senator in the US history. I believe he's second to Robert Byrd. And here you see him receiving the Medal of Honor from President Clinton. And to go from a soldier that nobody wanted, because most of the people in the military did not want the Japanese to fight with them, they were termed enemy alien 4C. That means they're not really human. But they served gallantly. They received over 18,000 medals, which included 9,000 Purple Hearts. They were without equal. And they served to prove that they were loyal citizens and to help their brothers and sisters and uncles that were in the camps while they were out serving in the Army. So they were leaders, and he was a leader. And I show you that he was a leader before he became a senator. He didn't just come up the ranks and go to law school and pop, he's a senator. He fought his way. In fact, the reason he did fight for civil rights was when he came out of the Army and he wanted to get his hair cut. He was in uniform with one arm. And the barber said, "We don't cut Jap hair." So he decided that he was going to make a difference in the world, and he did. He was a champion for many ethnic groups and many people that needed civil rights. So that is Ikigai. And I want you to think about that. Ikigai, Ikigai, your reason for living. And it'll help you become a better leader. The late Steve Jobs had the courage to follow your intuition, because really, he says your heart knows where it should go. And Abraham Lincoln, whatever you do, become a good one. I think that's just so succinct and so beautiful. And so client testimony, I'd love to share testimonies because I love working with people. And now that I have I believe, a more complete program, I am so excited to bring this out to the world. So my client said that when she met me at a presentation, she knew she could trust me. And so that's part of Bushido, is you become a person that people can trust. And after only doing a few sessions, she knew that I had helped her. I helped her identify goals and how to meet them. And that's what I'll do for you when you join the program. And it puts the power to change in the client. It's different from counseling, because counseling, a counselor will tell you what to do. A coach will guide you and lead you. And next we have the Kota Bushido. Bushido is from Bushi, which is warrior, and Do, Bushido, is the way of the warrior. It's a moral code of action. If you build your house on sand or don't have a framework underneath girding you up, what's going to happen to your house? It won't be standing for very long. And so that's the same way with people. When you have that moral fortitude and framework, which the Kota Bushido offers, then you will be a person that's standing on the rock. And here's the kanji for the Kota Bushido, the way of the warrior, and it's their code of ethics. The samurai's journey: courage, integrity, benevolence, respect, honesty, honor, and loyalty. The samurai were awesome warriors, and they did not compromise, nor did they quit, and they knew who they were. But it was also almost like, well, it was after 1600 or 1500, it was more like royalty. A person had to be born in the line of a samurai rather than joining the army. I'm going to be a samurai. They had to be in the bloodline. But what I'm teaching you is to become a modern day samurai warrior. Back in the 1800s, around 1860, after the Meiji Revolution, then there were no more samurais. They couldn't carry their swords. They were taken from them. They had the personal sword, and then they had the sword for war. So they can know there was no place for the samurai to go. But that spirit lives on in Japan, and it can live in you and I. Here's another historical example. Chune Sugihara. He was an amazing man, born in 1900. Actually, January 1st, 1900. What an auspicious day to be born. And he knew at a very young age what his ikigai was. He wanted to travel the world and learn languages. And I believe that he knew at least 5: French, German, Russian, Japanese, and English. A perfect diplomat. And he went to an exam, a medical exam, because he was an excellent student. His father wanted him to become a doctor. However, he didn't like the sight of blood. He couldn't be a doctor. He was a good student, but that didn't mean that he could become, he would be a good doctor. So he went to Korea to take the medical exam. And all he did was write his name. This meant that I was here, but I did not take the test. So his father was furious. And at that time, he says, my obligations to you has ended. He had to fund his own college education, and he did that. He did that amazingly and went through the ranks and became the vice consul from Japan to Lithuania. He and his wife were living a wonderful life as diplomats. She would be dressed in her kimono and he in his finest tux. But something happened. This was 1940. Some of you probably weren't born then, or maybe even don't know what happened. That was World War II. So at that time, the Jewish people were being rounded up and annihilated. And this is what happened in Poland. So they came to his door, the vice consul's door, and they wanted help. And he didn't know how he could help them because he was one person and, he was at the council. All the other people were refusing to give Jewish refugees a transit visa. So they had a committee and they said, what should we do? And Sugihara said, I don't know. I'll have to wire the Japanese government. They said, no, don't write those visas. But yet he would see these throngs of people in front of his door and he had compassion on him. And he also said, what's wrong with saving a human life? There's nothing wrong with it. So he telegraphed the Japanese Empire. And he says, please, I need to write these visas. All the other consul's office will not do it. Please, let me write these visas. And they said, no. So he asked his family, what should I do? What should we do? We have these people out there and they're crying and they have they're bundled with their coats and their children were there. What do we do? And so the Chunin Sugihara always taught his children and his family, what would you do? Put yourself in the other person's shoe. And that's what we as people here in the 21st century, we can say, put yourself in their shoes and see what you would do. So he did. And he asked the children and they said, Papa, we have to save the children. We have to let them have life. He decided after the third time to wire the Japanese government, and they said no. So he went ahead with redoubled courage, and this was the summer of 1940. Day and night, he would write visas. Over 2,000 visas in a little over a month, which saved over 6,000 people. And because of that, one man, one person can make a difference. Just like all of you here on the webinar, you can make a difference. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you're doing your ikigai, we are all contributing. Everybody is important. And because of his courage and his bravery, he was awarded Righteous Among the Nations by Yad Vashem Museum of Holocaust in Jerusalem, just because of that one man. So you may think right now, I'm just one person. What can I do? But one person can make a difference. And I would like to share with you how you can make a difference and how you are making a difference. Say I was to give you all the money, we take all the million and billionaires in the world, put their money together and give it to you. And you can take it under one condition. I'd like to know how many of you would take it. To see, you could write in the chat. Are there any people that would take that money under one condition? You may want to know, what is that condition? Well, the condition is your eyesight's gone, your smell is gone, your taste is gone, your hearing is gone, your touch is gone, and your thinking. Now, how do you communicate with the world? Or can you? So that's one of my ways I show people how important every one of you are. And everybody you meet is important because everybody has a purpose in life. Maybe some people haven't found it. And I would love for you to find your ikigai. And then the second part is about the Kota Bushido. And to me, Sugihara exemplified the Kota Bushido. Courage, he was courageous, full of integrity, benevolence, compassion, respect. He had respect for others, honesty, honor, and loyalty. And so I just like to read from my book to you about Sugihara. This is my book. Let the Samurai Be Your Guide. Most important, Sugihara was a samurai warrior, yet he did not handle a gun or sword. He brought about change without going to battle. He was strategic, yet peaceful, decisive, yet passionate, and determined, yet gentle. He was a peaceful warrior, and not every warrior has to be a battlefield-hardened warrior. Soldier to be a true warrior and hero. So there's many positive attributes from the Kota Bushido and many other attributes that he displayed and that you can emulate. Which one would you choose? And this is a guide, and actually it's a printable thing that you can download and print for a good reminder of what the Kota Bushido is. It's a good reminder for all of us. And good morals, good ethics never go out of style. And now we're going to go on to a different part in this program, who it's for. And so I'm going to give you some more quotes. I love quotes. I don't know how many of you love quotes, but I love it. And it's your reputation is what you're perceived to be. Character is who you really are. And it was written by Coach Wooden, but he built his team the moral way. And companies who compromised its principle one time, next time it's going to be very easy. It's just around the corner. And this is from Zig Ziglar. Zig Ziglar is one of the fathers, shall we say fathers or founders or of the personal development movement. And so the client testimony is from Dennis B. He said, before we met, he had plans and objectives. But meeting together, who was with somebody who was not emotionally involved, could see through that. He went over his plans and he decided what to do. And he was at a point in his life making changes. I helped him believe in himself and that he could do it. So now he has more confidence. He's a speaker and doing very well. And the last one is Gambaru. Gambaru is samurai determination. And yes, that is me. I was a cheerleader. That's one of the things I love to do. And I can remember when I was young, I went home from a basketball game crying. I wasn't even in kindergarten. I said, I want to do what they're doing. And so finally I was a cheerleader going through high school. It means going through with samurai determination, no matter what, you don't quit. Try your hardest, do your best, never give up, and go for broke. That is the samurai spirit. And actually that's the Japanese spirit, because my parents, being farmers, never let us give up. We always had to try. My mom would say, oh, there's always a way. There's always a way. Don't give up. Let's try this. Let's try that. Oh, you're sitting down watching television. Okay, you can straighten this drawer out, or you can do some ironing, or snap some beans, or cut vegetables, but we never had idle hands. That's the samurai determination. And although I hated growing up on a farm, it helped me a lot. In fact, question, do I look like the farmer's daughter? All the time when I was growing up, I would think, this is not my life. I don't like it. But it did teach me a lot. And I'm so grateful and thankful that my parents taught me how to work. I'm not afraid of work. And my mother could work circles around anybody. I'm not quite like that, but she did teach me how to never give up, because she never gave up. And that's another story I'd love to share with you sometime. Go for broke. And that was the motto of the Japanese American soldiers. Go for broke, because they fought they were without equal. And Finally, they got their stamp. And now about my samurai journey. I don't share this often, but I believe I'm going to, because I can do this and just state to you what happened. I don't want to go into the victim thing. It was what it was. It brought me to where I am now. I endured over 1,000 appointments in order to regain wellness, because I was reading at a 7th grade level, and how many people want to be reading there when they went to college? So my GP sent me to a physiatrist. At that time, this was back in 2007. I did not know what a physiatrist was, because I avoided doctors like the plague. And I would do anything before going to the doctors. I'd do anything before getting a shot. And so I went to the physiatrist, and he would check me about every couple of weeks. And he noticed that I was still having problems. So he sent me first to a physical therapist. And that was great. And when I came back after about 4 months, he says, well, are you still having kind of brain issues and forgetting? And I go, I have those. Yes, I do have that. So I went to a speech pathologist, and I thought speech pathology is for people that don't speak well, but that's not all they do. That's one path of the speech pathologist. The other path is about cognitive rehabilitation, executive function. And that's what I needed help with. Twice a week for years, and then it went down to once a week. But I was determined to get better. And then she noticed that I wasn't seeing well, and she'd ask me to find something on a piece of paper, and I'd say, I know it's on there. I can't decipher it. So she sent me to a vision therapist, when my ophthalmologist told me there was no correlation between the accident and me not seeing well. But I disagreed with that. I knew something was wrong right after it happened. I went to so many appointments, a naturopath. I had brain scans by Dr. Amen, and it showed what my brain looked like, and it wasn't a healthy brain. So we worked on it, and I changed my diet, doing more exercise, started taking my dancing more seriously, because dancing is very good for cognitive rehabilitation. You cross your arms and you cross your legs. And ping pong can do that too. Vision therapy, almost 3 years of vision therapy. Because when I was tracking, and the other one was all over the map. Neurologist, neuropsych, doing testing, chiropractor, massage therapy, and an audiologist, because towards the end, she realized that I could hear well, but it wasn't processing. So if somebody says, oh, do this, that, and that, I couldn't do it. I'd have to see it on a paper or be shown. So I went to another speech pathologist that specialized in audio processing. So you can see that it was quite a journey, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. That's my journey. And had I given up, I wouldn't be here today with you, nor would I have written the book. So obstacles are those things that you see when you take your eyes off the goal. So when you're going for your goal and you're getting distracted here and there, you will be delayed, or you'll be misled. So that's what's great about Ikigai. You know it, and that'll help you with your decisions. Will this help me with my decision of being the best ballet dancer if I go out on weekends and just party? Probably not. So you make those decisions based on your Ikigai. And the Japanese proverb, you fall 7 times and you stand up 8. It means that you don't give up. And a client testimony is on the bottom with Ann C. I helped her with opening up new possibilities. And she said, I'm just a housewife. And I said, well, tell me more about that. She raised 2 sons that were very responsible, went to college, have families. She'd been married over 40 years. And I said, well, I think that's very successful. Instead of saying that's something that many people don't accomplish. And helping her to take chances. made new strides towards redefining her life so that bitterness would not be part of her life. So my point is that alone, we can do so little, and together we can do so much. That's Helen Keller. And here's a woman who is deaf, blind, yet she finished college, spoke all around the world, and wrote a book. She didn't give up. And Tomoe Gozen, the leader, she didn't go alone. And as humans, it's not good for any of us to go alone. We can do, like Helen Keller said, we can do so much more. And that's why it's great to be in a community with like-minded people that can help you reach your goals.